So here's section 2, and we're going to talk about the frets. That's these little guys. That's the spaces between these little things here. Now, if you lift this up like this, and come in real close to me, okay, you can see that they're ever so slightly raised up, these pieces of metal. And so when he pushes on one of these strings, if you see right here, when I push the string down, it sort of rests between these two pieces of metal, okay? So those frets, if you see, are not equidistant. They're not the same distance from each other. There you go.
Okay.
So right there. So this distance here is much larger than the distance down here. That's really small, huh? So back up about a foot. There we go, perfect. So now play one of those ones up at the top. Now play the same string way down at the bottom. Way down. Right. So remember we talked about that bigger instruments, bigger means lower and smaller means higher. Well, that's true here too. So the bigger areas make a lower sound and the smaller areas make a higher sound. The closer we get to this, the higher the sound gets because of those little frets, okay? Now, Joel's gonna show us here, it's a little bit tricky, but every instrument in an orchestra needs to be able to play all of the same notes. So each instrument has different numbers of strings, different numbers of buttons, different numbers of things on them. And yet each instrument is able to play the same notes. So, like with a trombone, Chance plays a trombone. Come on up here real quick. So Chance, on a trombone, how do we change the pitch?
There's a slide and then you push it forward and you pull it back.
Now, do you just do wherever you want, or are there certain kind of stopping points?
There are stopping points, and those are positions 1 through 6.
Okay, and somehow with positions 1 through 6, you can play all the stuff that everyone else is playing. Is that right?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Cool. All right, so now Joel's going to show us how to go through and play 2 octaves of notes. That's 2 groups of 8. So from A through G and from A through G. But he's not necessarily going to start on A.
No.
But in fact, it's E through E on his,
It's
right?
E through E.
E through E. But it still hits them all. So go ahead and show us how you do that.
There's 16 notes, low E and through and high E. It's the same note, but it starts here on E, F, G, A.
And you're switching, let me see your fingers. So you switch to another string, right?
Yes, I switch to the next string.
So it's the
next
second
string
one
up.
down. Okay.
The A is an open string. Then we go to B flat, B, C,
Okay.
D.
Okay.
Let's see. E flat, E, F, G.
That's the open string, right?
That's the open string for the next one, yes.
G. Okay.
A flat, A, B flat, B. That's the open string.
Okay.
C, D flat, D, E.
Is that E is the open string? Okay,
That's
so
an
lift your
open
fingers up. Play it again. E. Okay, all right.
So pretty much the first 3 frets from the bottom to the top, as you progress across along the notes, will get you from the low E to the high E.
Okay. Now, so what if you wanted to play a chord? Chords are when you add a bunch of notes together.
Yeah.
3 or 4 usually, right? Okay, and that makes a pleasant sound to our ear, right? Usually. Okay, so what's a nice pleasant chord that's used a lot?
A G.
A G. Okay, what does that sound like?
It's just the third finger on the top string and the top four strings.
Oh, so 3 open strings and 1 with the finger on it. So and that makes a chord of G.
Yes.
And that's different from if you just strummed those. Strumming is what you're doing by flicking them all at the same time, right? And you can do that with your fingers or with a pick. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So, or your thumb. Yeah.
Mhm.
So when you lift all of your fingers off and you just strum normally, what is that? Is that anything? Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a note.
Ah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
Mhm.
So when you do that, it makes it more pleasant. Ah, see, I can hear that. Neat. Okay, cool. So when you're writing a song, you're coming up with your melody first, which is just one note at a time, and then you figure out what chord those notes sound good in, right? And you want to make sure that you pick chords that are pleasant with those notes, yeah? Okay, cool. All right, so great. Let's move on to part 3.